I'm Fiona Dourif. I played Dr. McKay on The Pitt, and you're watching Pop Culture with Pat.
Hey guys, welcome back to Pop Culture with Pat. So I am so excited to be joined by today's guests. Today I'm talking to Fiona Dourif, who plays Dr. McKay on The Pitt. Fiona, thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm stoked to be here.
You're very welcome. Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you, to talk about the show. Obviously, love your work in the horror genre, but I've I've never really been one that's watched a lot of these medical type of shows, and I just was hearing good things about The Pit, so I started watching it, and I went through those 10 episodes, I think, in like 2 days. So absolutely love the show. I'm curious for you because I've heard that the scripts for this were pretty intense, like longer than you maybe kind of expect, and you just got all the medical jargon and quick back and forth. What was it like for you getting them, going through them for the first time and kind of breaking that down?
I think the whole experience was pretty surreal. I've never played anything like this before. I've always been a sort of fan of the genre, but not really played so much technique. There's a lot of like you said, a lot of technical jargon, and then a lot of blocking that's really specific because a part of the show is to try to make it as realistic as possible. So we're performing very careful technical things with our hands too, while saying kind of complicated words that we've never said before, and hopefully selling it with some kind of ease and expertise. So the whole thing was actually quite hard for me and overwhelming and sort of scary. Watching Noah Wiley do it was really helpful because it's sort of like a second skin for him. Um, and also the environment on set was really warm in a way that it isn't always on television. So sometimes it can get competitive and people can be very stressed out. But this was it was kind of, I mean, what's the word I'm looking for? It just felt like it was blessed from the beginning somehow.
Yeah, I mean the chemistry with you guys on the series is amazing. Just, the
Oh,
back and forth
cool.
between
Yeah,
your
thank you.
characters. And like, you wouldn't know that any of you guys, if I'm not sure if any of you guys do have medical backgrounds, but you wouldn't know that because it comes across as authentic. And I can't
Amazing.
imagine, as someone who has no medical background, I can't imagine going into something like this and having to learn all those different terms and, like you said, play it off convincingly. So yeah, well done to you and the rest of the crew.
Thank you, thank you. I think there was a first few days where everybody was quite scared, and also, there's John Wells has such a there's such a legacy kind of here, and so I speak for myself. I just really wanted to do a good job, and
Yeah.
so there was this added pressure, and also I didn't reading the scripts. I couldn't totally understand the pace of it until I saw the first episode, and they screened it for us pretty early on while we were still shooting. And then I sort of understood how and why it works, right? It's like everybody's on this treadmill, and you're kind of, nothing becomes too dramatic, but it's the like switching forward. And honestly, Noah Wiley's performance that just kind of draws you in,
Yeah.
um, and feels like a real hospital. I mean, I think so.
Yeah. No, it's you guys
Um,
just go, go, go.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And we had a lot of consultants who were actually who were actual emergency room doctors to talk to. That was really helpful. And they sent us to 2 weeks of med school at Warner Brothers, which was very fun.
Definitely, yeah, I'm sure that definitely helps. And so Fiona, when you first found out you were going to be playing this character, you got the role, what information did you kind of know about her initially? And what did you maybe want to bring to her that maybe wasn't in the scripts initially that you wanted to make the character your own?
Yeah, I mean, I remember reading the breakdown and when I first got the audition and thinking that this was a version of me. I like read it and said, if they're looking for my type of person, I'm for real a version of that. And I played it very much with how I feel in certain contexts, like very much grounded really who I am and how I walk through the world. And yeah, I just had a little bit more confidence because I felt like the inner core of the thing that they were looking for with this character is something that I have from, my own life experience. And then when they told me her backstory, it was really similar to mine. So I was like, there you go. And they told me her backstory after I was cast after medical school. So I understood, you know, why this one was me.
Yeah, no,
Why I
it's
was
always,
yeah.
yeah, that makes sense. And as far as how did your experience, I guess, prior to, but even while you guys were working on the series, working with medical professionals, how did that inform how you were going to play Dr. McKay?
Oh man, it was really cool. We got to ask a million questions, and one of my favorite things about acting is learning a lot about something really specific. You're like, oh, it's my job to really understand like how this lung cavity balloon would work, right? And it's not a lung cavity, actually.
No worries. We're not going to hold you to.
But I remember one of the coolest things I did was put a balloon down an esophagus. It's a way that they can stop bleeding. Um, Really cool. But I took it upon myself to try to understand to the best of my ability technically what I was doing, so it didn't come out as just like pablum.
Yeah.
And then we got to talk to these doctors. And honestly, the accuracy of the show is on Dr. Joe Sachs' shoulders. I mean, he worked really tirelessly and wrote a portion of almost every episode and was just there, I would say almost every day or most days,
Wow.
making sure that everything was accurate. And then was just there to ask and answer questions. And then we had two other wonderful doctors that were on set every other week or every other episode. They would kind of rotate out. And yeah, I asked a lot of questions. I used Chat GPT a lot, which was kind of depressing. And then a lot of the nurses that you see in the show, almost all of the nurses are actual ER nurses or had
Oh,
been.
wow.
So that was really cool. And yeah, lots of humbling questions.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you. I would have been doing the same thing. I would have been asking a ton of questions because, like I said,
A
I don't
ton of
come from a
questions.
medical background.
Yeah.
So,
And it felt very much like a stage performance. I know a lot of people have said this, and John Wells said it in our first day that because there's so many moving pieces and the camera moves so much, there wasn't this environment where you could like take that beat again. It's like stop the scene and take the beat again because behind you there's an entire hospital of action happening. So it felt very much like action and you're on stage and you're doing your best. Um, so yeah, that was humbling also.
yeah.
Humbling and cool. Yeah. Yeah, it's really kind of a dream job.
Yeah, I'd say authenticity is definitely something that's really important. I know when bringing, like you said, when bringing the show to life, and I've seen a lot of people, YouTube, other discussions, just talking about how people saying one of the most medically accurate shows of all time, which is, pretty insane to think about. Outside
Tribute
of
to Dr. Gross Sachs, truly.
and outside of like the boot, because I know you said you did the boot camp, asking questions, was there anything else that you did personally to prepare for the role? Because I know in previous roles that you've done specific research.
Yeah.
So was there anything else that you did to jump into this character?
Yeah, I mean, I read Five Patients. So I watched a lot of ER. I
There you go.
I I read the book that the original ER is based on, though the Pit is quite different. And but I tried to find almost all sort of medical, like well-written medical drama to sort of read, as opposed, I find that reading something kind of lights my imagination in a way that like watching doesn't. Watching
Yeah.
kind of fills in a lot of blanks for me. So yeah, I read some books and God, and then when we were shooting, I mean, I was cast about a week before I started medical school.
Oh,
So,
wow.
and we were shooting pretty consistently for 8 months, which is a long time. So,
Yeah.
uh, once we were in it, we were, then there was a lot of, I had a compilation of all of my moments because the whole season is one day.
Yeah.
So I had in my apartment, like every moment of every day and where I went in kind of what I called like this Bible.
Yeah.
So before shooting days, I would kind of sometimes walk through the set, but go through exactly what I did that morning to get to the scene I was about to perform.
Yep.
I found that really helpful. And then as like we got to the older episodes, I was like, this is taking me so long. Um,
I
but
mean, it's a lot. It's crazy too to think how, yeah, this whole season takes place in one day.
yeah.
Usually most TV series, movies, or whatever, they'll take place the course of like a week, month, couple of years, or whatever. So to kind of break this down and realize this is all happening in one single day is crazy. But I've been to hospitals and I know it's a lot of running around, different things happening all at once. So it's not unreasonable to think that these different things could all happen at a hospital in one single
Yeah.
day. But yeah, I can't imagine just trying to kind of map that all out for yourself.
Yeah, we did. I mean, there would be like small moments that aren't on screen and stuff, but
Yeah.
yeah, I will forever know exactly what that day was because I went through it so many times for my character. And I think, a conceit of the show is to try to show like how overworked and hard it is to be a medical professional in the
Yeah.
ER and how the ER is this just like last stop for all these desperate people,
Yeah.
you know. Um yeah, and to try to bring some like warmth and humanity and tell that story.
Yeah. I've
I still
had
can't believe I got picked to do it. It just seems madness.
Yeah, I mean the cast from top to bottom, you guys like amazing cast. And like I said, I mean I've blown through it so fast, so it's like I can't wait to get the next like couple episodes to finish up the season, and then we
It's
got to
about to
wait
hit
a little
the
bit till
fan.
season two. Oh, I
Yeah.
can't even imagine. And
Yeah.
in the season, Dr. McKay takes Victoria under her wing in this first season. What was it like just kind of developing that relationship and dynamic with her on set?
It was great. The actress is very funny. She's like
Is
a
she?
stand-up comic, yeah, in real life. And me and her often have different styles right before we're about to shoot something. And I remember there being a little bit of tension there, which really sort of worked. It made it feel like it made it feel like the two characters. I think in a lot of ways they ended up sort of casting the people who are playing themselves in a way that I haven't really seen that kind of acutely before. It just felt like each like the core of each person, each actor was also sort of the core of that character.
Yeah.
Um yeah. And maybe it's because I'm a huge fan of genre stuff, which I've been lucky enough to be a part of, but it's often not that way, right? And maybe on shows like this, that's common, but I've never seen it before. So anyway, in terms of Victoria Javadi, it felt very much like I was interacting with both the actress and the character. They felt very related, except in real life, she's very, very funny.
Hilarious. Yeah. No, that's really
Like a
cool
comic, yeah.
to hear. In episode five, Dr. McKay specifically tells Victoria that have to build trust with their patients. So I wonder for you, Fiona, how do you build trust with your fellow actors, especially when it comes to some more of like emotional or just like vulnerable scenes overall?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been asked that question before. I try to I try to sort of read the room and be delicate. If somebody, I think each actor has their own way of, um, you know, taking the space or not the space, or like, or being distracted or not distracted before they have to be kind of emotional and perform. So I try to be conscious of how of the person's technique and respectful and quiet and give space. Like me, for example, I if I'm doing something that feels um vulnerable or feels emotional, I tend to find that it's like delicate for me. So I can't laugh, 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 joke, 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 and then go into it. Some
Yeah.
people can on our show. And yeah, so I try to build trust by being respectful, really.
No,
You know, I
that
think we're all there to work. And so
yeah.
I try to make the space not all about me.
No, I
You
mean
know?
it's totally understandable and really cool because yeah, I mean, especially in a show like this, there's a just a lot of moments that you guys deal with a lot of tough subject matter in this
Mm.
series. So I was kind of curious how you guys are kind of also able to balance those tougher moments, like specifically with your character, Dr. McKay, worrying about the situation with the kid who has the list of the girls on it that's kind of been going throughout the season. You also have Piper dealing with like the trafficking situation. So being able to balance that, but then also at the same time, still having the set and making the set fun and light too, because you don't want to just kind of stay, I feel like, in that the whole time. So was that a challenge for you to kind of be able to balance those elements?
Yeah, I think there's some scenes coming up in the show that I had to that I struggled to sort of to balance. You know, as an actor, if I have some kind of catharsis, a cathartic scene, you know, and I'll read it, it will be like active in the back of my mind until I actually perform it. And there's usually fear there. There's um excitement, but it's like it's alive, and it's like it's something that I sort of have to like pet and make sure is okay before I like bring it out.
Yeah.
There's some actors that don't work this way. I wish I was one of them because I find it kind of exhausting and terrifying. But yeah, on days like that, and you'll see those scenes are coming up, the balance was difficult. On a lot of the on a lot of this, even the stuff with say Piper or yeah, the Jackson Kelly, the kid with the list. A part of who McKay is somebody who's been around the block.
Yeah.
And so what I was playing, there was an aspect of this where it matters, but it's happened before.
Yeah.
You know? So there was this kind of routine, and I actually that quality of McKay I kind of want to um enhance for season two, because uh I think, you know, watching it myself, that was a quality I sort of I like in her. But yeah,
That's
so
really cool.
because I've done it before and all of these aren't like new terrifying experiences, I could like balance I you know, I could balance it and have fun and fuck around with Myrna, and then, you know,
Oh yeah.
walk the halls. And yeah, I yeah, it's also it's a weirdly fun set.
I know. I feel like sometimes,
Like
like us as the
everybody.
audience, obviously we're watching it and we see some of these more emotional moments, and we're like, man, I can't imagine being on that set. But you guys have to find ways to kind of keep things light too. So I'm sure that you guys are probably kind of joking around and stuff too, like in between,
In
shooting.
between. Yeah, I mean, and to be honest with you, I think we often have an easier job than some of the guest stars. I mean, the guest stars do incredible work in the show. You know, and it's one of the hardest jobs in Hollywood. People don't talk about it, but you're hired to sort of go in. I mean, on our show, it would probably be a few weeks because you exist in the background, but
Yeah.
because it's simultaneous. But you know, you go into a set that like it is not revolving around you, and then you do this like vulnerable weeping, and you just have to like really show up. And then of course we, have this like kind of simple job of reacting to it or managing it. But I I often felt like yeah, the guest stars, some of the guest stars are the people who should be interviewed. I
Oh,
mean, yeah,
yeah, no,
it
they're
really made the show
amazing.
work. Yeah.
One
Yeah,
of the
we had some
moments that
performances.
were really tough for me was it episode, yeah, episode 8 with the little girl that drowned. I was just like, oh man, because I just watched that recently, and I was like, that was just such a tough episode to get through.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
I can't even imagine like filming that specific day.
You could feel it on set. You could really feel it. I mean, yeah, we're a light set, and I think we're friendly, and I think we make it a point to be welcoming. I certainly do. I think everybody kind of does. I think it's a kind set. Uh, and when performers are out, you know, we have a few dying children. But when there's like real weeping and mourning and tears, kind of everybody's stayed and talking about it. There's
Yeah.
like whispers in and you try to match that energy. It's the only respectful thing to do.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you too, and I know that you had mentioned it sounds like maybe some of the scenes are coming up for you in the next handful of episodes, but I was gonna ask you what was the most for you as an actor, the most challenging scene to film so far, but maybe also the most rewarding scene. So I would say maybe for episodes 1 through 10, if you have one in there.
Interesting. I mean, there's some challenging scenes coming up. I mean, my honest reaction is there's some scenes in episode 14
Okay.
that um that yeah, that were difficult. That were difficult and delicate, I would say. And then the most rewarding, I'm probably going to have to say the first day that I shot, John Wells was directing, and I was the triage doctor, so everything was shot basically in one day. It all felt like one scene. Um, and it was the moment where I figured out that I could do it. And he's a very, very kind, very specific director. And so that was really satisfying because I didn't know if I could do it. I was like, yeah, I feel like a fraud up until the moment they hit,
Yeah. No,
they they say action.
I can understand that because, like you said, this is something that's been completely different for you for what you've gotten to play, up to this point in career. So I totally understand that. I've had the same thing where it's like you're there, and until you actually do it, you just kind of have that imposter syndrome a little bit.
Syndrome my whole life. Yeah, yeah. It actually made me feel better that my father has it too, who's been like nominated for, an
Yeah,
Oscar, like
yeah.
it's the actor. So yeah.
And the Pit, it's already been announced for season 2, which is awesome. I'm glad that, we don't have to wait for that announcement to come out like after the season. We've already got that. So I'm sure you guys will be getting going on that soon once the writers
Yeah,
are all
yeah.
done. I know
Yeah,
you'd
yeah.
mentioned you did want to expand a little bit more on that one aspect of Dr. McKay. Was there anywhere else that you would maybe like to explore with that character in season 2?
So I have a trouble watching myself, but the pit kind of draws you in, which is
Yeah.
great, you know. Um, I love watching everybody else, but it's hard to not just pick apart my performance when I see it. I think the moments when she feels like a solidified person to me is the moments when there's like a routineness in the hospital and there's care about the people. I find McKay pretty empathetic. So it's less about my own anxiety. I think oftentimes I played like my fear of fucking up, McKay's fear of fucking up. And I would do a little bit less of that, I think. But I also have 6 episodes to watch. So we'll see
Is,
if that quality isn't there anymore.
and is there anyone like going into season 2? Is there anyone that you'd want to have more scenes with that you didn't maybe get to have as many with in
Oh,
this
we didn't
first
have any
season?
scenes with Whitaker. Whitaker's
There you go.
adorable.
Yeah. Poor Whitaker. God, what a first day at the
Whitaker.
job.
Poor Whitaker. I really like Gerran too. You can't get him to say anything when we're having like an actors meeting. So oftentimes he just will never say anything. So oftentimes, like in the middle of a table read, I'll be like, "What do you think, Gerran?" So,
He's like, Fiona, what are you doing?
he's like, but he's a really wonderful actor, and yeah, I love the performance. Also, like kind of a great hang.
And just to
And I love Javadi. Javadi's hilarious. I would be happy to be linked at the hip to her again.
more scenes with her. And I have to ask you too, I don't know if you've heard anything regarding Chucky. I know fans have been waiting to see if there's any kind of updates. Do you know of anything as far as going forward with that franchise at this point, or
There's going to be another movie.
there is?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know the timeline, but that will certainly happen. Yeah.
Awesome.
Uh, yeah.
I
I
imagine
mean,
it,
what I want is it for it to be a version of season 4 for the television show, just because that was a dream to make.
yeah.
Uh, but we'll see. But Chucky never will never go away.
No. I'll say, yeah,
He'll always be back.
you go to especially around Halloween, you go to like Spirit Halloween and you just see all the Child's Play Chucky stuff everywhere. So it's like I don't think he might be gone for like a little bit, but he'll be back at some point. So
I think he's grown in the zeitgeist like crazy. I
yeah.
mean, mind you, I've, bought the red car, so maybe I see the red car everywhere, but I go to conventions and I've never seen more Chuckies, in the last year than before. I think it's just the success of the TV show and Don Mancini.
Yep.
Don Mancini's like really kind of made something wonderful and fun.
Oh yeah,
I'm very lucky. I'm like a lucky
people love it.
woman.
Yeah, no, you've had some incredible roles, Fiona, and
I've
obviously
been
I can't
lucky.
wait to see what's happening with the Pitt season 2, the future of Chucky. Is there anything else that you have coming up that you'd like to tell fans to kind of keep an eye out for?
Yeah, what do I have coming up? What did I do last year? It maybe all came out. Um, no, as of the moment, I'm doing the pit. I shot the pit for, yeah, 8.5 months
Yeah, that's going to take up quite a
and
bit of
then
your time.
wrapped a month ago. That's
Yeah,
it.
so that'll take up quite a bit of your time. Plus, I know, yeah, you
Yeah,
said
yeah,
you're
yeah,
doing all the
yeah,
conventions and stuff like that too,
yeah.
which is great to
Yeah,
see.
I'm going to Gothenburg, Sweden tomorrow, which is
Oh, wow.
nice. Yeah, so it's cool.
Well, hey, Fiona, I just want to say thank you so much for your time today. Wonderful getting to meet you, have this chat with you about the show, and you are welcome back anytime in the future.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Pat. I appreciate it. I'm Fiona Dourif. I played Dr. McKay on The Pit, and you're watching Pop Culture with Pat.